Nagpabati na may ngiti sa aking mga labi. Naghahanap ba kayo ng makakatuwang sa pagre-review ng inyong anak? Meron yan sa DepEd. Ang ETUlay online tutorial ay libre at handog ng ating kagawaran sa pangunguna ng OUA ICTS EdTech. Ito ay isang proyektong makatutulong sa mga mag-aaral, katuwang ang mga magulang o kasama sa kani-kanilang tahanan para masagutan at maunawaan ang mga modules. Hangad din ng programang ETUlay ang matulungan ang ating mga guro sa kanilang mga blended learning classes. Ang ating ETUlay ay mula kinder hanggang senior high school. Bukod sa academics, meron din tayong mga special programs gaya ng All is Wellness, Reading and Math Remediation, Storytelling, Mommy Tech Talks, Classes sa Gramatika, Speech Class, Financial Literacy, at marami pang iba. Pinalawig din ng ETUlay ang ating Alive program para sa mga mag-aaral mula grade 1 hanggang grade 3. Gayon din ay mayroon tayong ALS program at SPED tutorials na makasisigurong
Mabuhay! Good day to all! I am your tutor Madge. Welcome to ETUlay, a free online tutorial, an initiative of the Department of Education, Information and Communications Technology Service, Educational Technology Unit, ICTS EdTech. This program is aimed at helping and assisting learners from kindergarten, senior high school, ALS, Alive, and SPED learners. Aside from answering the modules, the ETUlay is offering programs which you will surely look forward to. Together with our parents and teachers, the ETUlay will bridge the gaps where difficulty and ease meet in learning new knowledge and skills. So, let us prepare our modules, pen and paper. Ready your mind to see and hear worthwhile and interesting lessons. Let us now study and learn, together with our volunteer online tutors. Tara na!
Good day everyone and welcome to another episode of DepEd ETUlay online tutorial for grade 9 science. Isa na namang amazing Monday sa inyong lahat. Sa ngalan po ng ating partner na si Tutor Kevin, ako po muli si Tutor Bandong para maghatid sa inyo ng kaalaman sa grade 9 science. Ayan, binabati ko ang ating mga learners mula sa iba't ibang SDO ito, no? I'm seeing learners from Tala High School, of course, mga learners from Malabon National High School na nanonood sa atin ng live mula sa official DepEd FB page ng DepEd ETUlay at YouTube channel, no? Official ng ating DepEd ETUlay nga, no? Ayan, ang mga taga-Ocampo National High School at binabati ko si Ma'am Maridet Bailon, ayan, ng Ocampo National High School. Hello po, Ma'am Maridet. Ayan. So, last time po ay pinag-usapan natin kasi nasa quarter 4, no? At ang quarter 4 ay may kinalaman sa physics. Alam niyo naman yan. At ang nakaraan nga ay pinag-usapan natin ang uniformly accelerated motion, gayon din ang vertical and horizontal components ng projectile motion. Okay? So, itutuloy lang natin ang projectile motion. Right? Okay, so ayan. Diyan lang kayo ating mga learners at marami kayong matututunan ngayong Lunes na ito. Okay? Ngayong Lunes na hapon. Lagi niyo akong sinasamahan from 2:20 to 3 o'clock. Ayan, dahil tayo ay nasa quarter 4 week 2 na, okay, so projectile motion pa rin tayo at ang ating most essential learning competency ay investigate the relationship between the angle of release and the height and range of a projectile, right? So that will be our maths for this afternoon. Alright, but before we proceed on that, definitely ito muna yung mga reminders, no? Okay, so learners, pakiusap lamang. So, yung una nating reminder ay to take the pretest prepared at the start of the module, right? Take time in reading and understanding the lesson. Follow instructions carefully. Okay, so we have number 3, use a clean sheet of paper for your answers in each activity or assessment. Number 4, try to recall and reconnect the ideas, okay, that you had in the lower years. All right, number 5, be honest. Yan, napakahalaga niyan, no? When doing the activities, record only what you have observe. Okay? Next one is don't hesitate to ask. If you need to clarify something, approach or contact your teacher. Approachable ng ating mga guro, no? Kaya naman anytime na meron kayong hesitation, just kumbaga nga one click away lang daw ang mga guro. Alright? Next one is take the pastas prepared at the end of the module. Number 8, you can check your answers in the activities, self-assessment, and post-test. Alright? So, yan yung mga simple reminders natin, no? So, let's now proceed. Alam ko medyo nagwa-wonder kayo, ma'am, parang iba yung background nyo at medyo parang maingay. Medyo ibang aking background ngayon. Nasa likod ako ng medyo daanan. Pero dahil nandito ang malakas sa signal, alam niyo naman napakahalaga ng malakas sa signal dahil nagkakaproblema tayo usually ng ating mga problem na yung signal. So, pumili ako ng spot na medyo malakas ang signal at dito nga yun nga lang medyo iba, no? At medyo may tingin ng konti. Alright, so, ayan, ako nakikita ko, ang dami nating mga learners from Tala High School. Thank you so much po. Okay, so ayan, ang Kaibiga High School nandiyan na rin. Thank you so much sa mga taga-Kaibiga ay nakasuporta sa atin. Right? Si Ma'am Eleanor, of course, nandiyan. Ang Alibadabad National High School. Alright, so here are some of the points that we discussed last time with regards to projectile motion, right? The first one is the projectiles always maintain a constant horizontal velocity, neglecting air resistance, right? Next one. So ito yung mga nahagingan natin last time or last week, no, during our week 1 discussion. Number 2, projectiles always experience a constant acceleration along the axis. The constant net force is directed, right? There is a constant vertical acceleration of 9.8 meter per second squared downward, right? Neglecting air resistance for projectiles in air. Okay. Number 3, for continuation, for projectiles on inclined surfaces, right? The constant vertical acceleration will be smaller than 9.8 meter per second squared down the tilt, which is equal to gravity, okay, sine theta, right? Or the angle. Next one. Number 3, the horizontal and vertical motions are completely independent of each other. Therefore, the velocity of a projectile can be separated into the horizontal and vertical components, right? And lastly, for a projectile neglecting air resistance that begins and ends at the same height, the time it takes to rise to its highest point equals the time it takes to fall from the highest point back to its original height of release. All right, so those are the points that we discussed last time, right? And then we will continue discussing projectile motion today, right? Now, what you are seeing on your screen right now, okay, I know you are very much familiar, no? Ating mga learners, especially yung mga, ayan, si Ma'am Judy, nandiyan si Ma'am Judy. Alam nila yung sport na nakikita nila sa kanilang screen, no? Yung baseball, alright? So ano ba itong baseball? Baseball is an example, okay, of projectile motion launch at an angle. Right? So ito yung ating magandang example, no? So yung i-discuss natin dahil yun ang ating yun ang focus natin ngayon, no? Projectile motion launch at an angle. All right. So now, so you are seeing there, okay? So meron kayong nakikita diyan sa illustration, no? So basically yung angle, it's a numerical value in degrees, ha? So nakikita niyo dun sa ating formula, if we will recall, no, yung theta, okay? Expressing the orientation of a projectile to be thrown projected, all right? And then you are seeing there Vy, all right? Or that is the vertical velocity responsible for the projectile to travel at a vertical distance. And also you have there Vx, okay? So which means horizontal velocity responsible for the projectile to travel at a horizontal distance. Right? And of course, the maximum height, okay? So I will just be explaining some of the terms that you need to understand, all right, before we proceed. So yung maximum height, ito daw yung the maximum vertical distance from the Earth's projectile can reach, all right? Now, you are seeing there in your screen, no, itong A, okay? So you will notice, no, yung projectile rises from A, okay, going to B, all right? So going to B. So from that point, okay, so itong, you will notice, so from this point A to B, medyo may decrease, di ba, with the vertical velocity. It's because, why? Okay, may decrease na nangyayari. That is because the baseball motion, or yung pinakabola, di ba? The motion of the ball is going opposite the gravity. Right? So that's why, no? And then also, okay, eto yung B na yan, that's the maximum already, no? Kumbaga, pagka nandun na siya sa point ng B, ito dito sa point B na to, okay, it momentarily stops. It will stop there momentarily, which will equivalent that to 0. Alright, so on this point, ito nga yung B. And then, kung mapapansin nyo, from B naman, okay, from point B going to C, there will be an increase. Definitely because yung baseball motion, alright, now adheres with the gravity. Okay, going towards the gravity, yung ating force, no? Okay, so that's why medyo may increase na. Okay, from point B downward, okay, going to C. Alright, so ayun yung ating illustration, no? An example of a projectile motion launched at an angle. Now, to explain that more, alright? So, ito yung mga binigay natin na kinematic equation last time, wherein ito nga, no, yung dx, okay? So, ayun yung range na tinatawag, your distance x, or the horizontal distance or equivalent to range, alright? So, that is dx. I-write ko lang natin, because later we will be using all this. And then the vi, or the initial velocity, and we have the vix, which is the initial horizontal velocity. Okay, and then we have the final horizontal velocity, or the VFX, right? And of course, total time of flight, and the theta, or the angle of projection. And then for dy naman, for vertical, okay, so that is the height for dy. For biy, that is the initial vertical velocity, okay, and bfy, that is the final vertical velocity. And of course, we have the g, or the acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 meter per second squared, and t for time of flight. All right? Now, so those are just a recall, no, on the kinematic equation. All right, so now I have here an illustration, pero bago yan, nandiyan pa ba ang ating mga learners? Babatiin ko muna ang ating mga learners. Hello, John Kyle Brandes. Okay, hello, Kyle. He is giving his thoughts about projectile. Alright, and we have, ayan, si Ma'am Judy, nandiyan na, ng San Mariano National High School. Hello po, mga learners and teachers from San Mariano National High School. Hello po sa inyo dyan. Ayan, ayan, si Ma'am Elena Francisco, si Betchimor, nandiyan na si Betchimor, at si Allison ng Kaibigan. Alright, so now you are seeing on your screen an illustration, no? Okay, so sa tingin nyo, which angle results in a widest range or greatest range? So, longest. Ang dami natin pwedeng bigay na adjective, no? Longest, widest. Okay, so alin kaya dyang angle? Sige, tingnan nga natin ng ating mga learners if they can answer that. Alin dyan? Aling angle kaya isa nakikita nyo? Which angle dyan? Yung nag-result into a longest range or widest range. Okay, alin dyan? 15 ba? 30, 45 degrees, 60, or 75. Tingnan ko nga mga learners natin na very active na nanonood sa atin ngayon. Kindly type in our comment section your answer to this. Aling angle dyan ang magre-result into, ayan, ako si Ma'am Eleanor. Ang bilis ni Ma'am Eleanor. Ayan na rin si Ma'am Renalyn. Hello, Ma'am Renalyn. Ang ating mga teachers po ay talaga namang kasama ng kanilang mga estudyante sa panonood sa ating ETUlay session. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga guro. Okay? Ayan, ako, galing talaga ng ating mga learners. Alright, sabi ng ating learners, yes, 45 degrees, very obvious naman, no, that they are seeing on their screen, no? Yung pinaka-wide ay yung 45 degrees. Alright, so yung 45 degrees daw ang pinaka-wide. Now, tumpa kayo dyan, and you are correct, you are really correct on that. Ayan, ako, totoo, ayan, ang dami pa rin nagsasagot na ating mga learners. Very good learners. Okay, so the correct answer to that really is 45 degrees. Alright. So that is, actually, no, ayan, kita na natin. Okay, so 45, kitang-kita naman, ang layo ng narating, no? Meron pa akong mas malino na illustration dyan later. Pero bago yon, ito muna ang asapang tanong. Alin naman angle ang results in a maximum height? Okay, so maximum height naman tayo, learners. Tingnan natin dyan, type in our comment section. Ano naman ang nagre-result dyan in a maximum height? Is it 15 degrees, 30, 45, 60, or 75? Ayan, tingnan natin. Ayan, ako, ang daming, ayan, sabi ni Leonard. Alright, sabi ni Alicia, sabi ni Ella, sabi ni Irish, 75. Si Mama Leonard, syempre 75 din. Si Zach, 75. Henschel, 75. Alright, si Marcy, ayan, ako, ang dami, lahat sila, 75 degrees. Alright. Okay, so, tama na naman kayo dyan, ano? Which angle results in a maximum height? Kitang-kita naman ang taas eh, di ba? So, it's the 75 degrees. You are correct on that. Alright. Now, next. Okay. Tingnan natin to. How would you compare the distance traveled by a projectile launch at an angle of 30 degrees and 60 degrees? Alright? So how would you compare the distance? Tingnan nyo nga yung 60, okay? Tsaka yung 30. Okay? So medyo ano lang, no? Ano lang yung buhit, no? Pero isa yung nilandingan eh, no? So ibig sabihin, pareho silang nagland, no? Ma'am, sa tingin ko pa parang pareho ng nilandingang range, no? Yung 30 and 60. Okay? I think that would be yung kung magta-type in ang ating mga learners, so that would be their answers, no? Napansin nila na it will land on the same range. Alright? So now, bakit nga ba ganyan ang ating mga nakita? Ayan na. Okay, so tingnan maigi ulit. Ang dami nating mga illustrations, na punong-puno tayo ng illustrations today, learners. Okay? So if you will try to assess, okay, tingnan yung maigi, no, yung nilandingan. Okay? So kanina tama kayo si 75 yung pinakamataas, no? Si 45 naman, okay, yun yung pinakamalayo yung narating, no? Alright. So if you will notice, okay, kanina sabi niyo si 60 learners, si 60 degrees and si 30 degrees ay pareho, di ba? We will try to assess the illustration that you are seeing on your screen right now. Bakit kaya pareho sila ng nilandingan? Si 60 at si 30. Okay? The same thing with, tingnan yung maigi, learners, no? And yung sa illustration. What about 15? Okay? 15 and 75. Alright? Si 15, no? Tingnan niyo si 15 at si 75. Parehas siyang nagland sa 5 meters also. Alright? Same range, no? Si 60, you will notice, okay, si 60, pareho siya ng niland. Okay, with 30. Okay, so if you will try to assess that. Okay, so pareho sila ng nilandingan, si 60 at si 30, pareho ng nilandingan. Okay, so bakit kaya ganoon? It's because of what? I know you know the answer to this because of the term complementary angle, no? You are very much familiar with that. Hello sa mga taga De La Paz Libutad High School. Ayan, De La Paz Libutad High School. Hello sa inyo. Alright, so why do you think? What's the reason behind that? Okay, so definitely, ang masasabi natin dyan, no? It's because of the complementary angle, which means na pag inad natin si 60 at si 30, para 60 plus 30 is 90 degrees, right? So, ganun din si 75 at si 15, okay? So, pag inad natin sila, it will land 90 degrees also. Alright, so if two angles are complementary, alright, with one another, or the sum of two angles are equivalent to 90 degrees, the projectile will land at approximately equal value of range. Alright? So that's the reason behind that. Okay? So ngayon, ano pa ang napansin natin dun sa illustration? Alam ko marami pa kayong na-notice dun. Okay? So meron tayong, kumbaga, i-discuss natin yung kanyang relationship. Okay? So if you will try to assess that, napansin natin, no? Kapag yung greater than 45 degrees, alright, you will notice na greater than 45 degrees, okay, yung launch greater, no, mas mataas sa 45 degrees learners, maiksi ang range. Alright? Alam ko sumasang-ayon dyan ang mga taga-SDO Isabela. Alright? So, talking about height, okay, and range, no? Pag greater than 45 degrees, learners, teachers, no? Mas mataas ang height, ibig sabihin, no? Pero maiksi ang range. Right? Pagka naman, yung height and range, if you will notice, no, ay lower than 45 degrees. Okay? Yung height ay bumababa. Okay? Yung range naman ay humahaba. Okay? Yung range ay humahaba. Kapag ang height and range ay lower than 45 degrees. Mababa yung height niya pero mahaba yung range niya, humahaba yung range niya. So the relationship, na bumabalot doon, alright? The relationship of angle of projection with height, okay, is directly proportional, okay, but inversely proportional with range of projectile, right? So the relationship of angle of projection with height is directly proportional. Okay? But, ulitin ko lang but inversely proportional naman with the range of projectile. Alright? So, ayan ang relationship na bumabalot dyan. Okay? Oh! Ayan na, si Tutor
Ayan,
Kevin. Matagal natin
Super
hindi
Bandong,
nakasama si
gusto
Tutor.
ko lang yung topic mo, yung topic natin dito. No? In
Yes,
relation
Tutor
to that,
Kevin, medyo pinapawisan ako. Iba kasi ang aking background
kamusta
ngayon.
kayo
Alam,
mga learners? Ayan. Super Bandong,
Ayan na,
naalala ko lang,
Oo, Tutor Kevin.
ito yung strategy na ginagamit ng, di ba nagkaroon ng sa war, di ba?
Yes,
Lalo
yes,
na
Tutor Kevin.
pag magre-release ng mga rocket, no, yung mga missile, yung mga naglalaban, So, ang natutunan ko sa iyo kanina that si 45 degrees talaga na angle ang may pinakamalayong pwedeng
Malayo,
maabot.
oo, Tutor Kevin. At alam ng ating mga learners.
Talaga naman. Kaya pala dapat talagang pag-aralan tong projectile motion na to, lalo na yung trajectory ng mga,
Yes,
halimbawa sa
Tutor
simpleng
Kevin.
paglalaro, di ba? Sa simpleng paglalaro like basketball, no, yung kapag tinrow mo yung bola, yung horizontal direction niya, yung projectile, di ba, yung parabolic, no?
Oo,
Para
Tutor
ma-shoot mo
Kevin.
siya sa ring.
Kaya nga, tinuturo natin sa ating mga learners, okay, if they want to achieve the longest range, kailangan yung angle of projection should be 45 degrees.
Ayan.
Ayan yung tinuturo natin sa kanila, kasi yun yung may pinaka malayo eh. So dapat kung gusto mo na ma-achieve yung longest na yan, it should be 45 degrees.
Yan, tama. Ano ba yung mga laro na nung bata ako may mga nilalaro kami like alam mo yung Javelin, yung marbles, yung binabato tapos kailangan patamaan yung mga group of marbles para lumabas dun sa square para makuha mo yung prize mo. So talagang yun related to that eh. Tsaka Tutor Bandong, isa pa, kapag ikaw ay magdidilig, diba? Usually, kapag magdidilig ka at ayaw mong pumunta dun sa malayo, yung host, diba, i-angle mo siya ng 45 degrees. So, malayo
kung gusto
yung
mong marating, yun. Kung gusto mong malayo ang marating. Kung gusto mo naman malapit, Tutor Kevin, mag-75 degrees ka.
Ayan. Naalala ko merong game sa cellphone. Actually, meron ako noon, Tutor Bandong. Paborito ko siyang laruin. Ang pangalan niya, share ko lang ang pangalan niya ay si Bazooka Boy. Yung Bazooka Boy, siya, kailangan, meron siyang cannon, tapos kailangan patumbahin mo yung kalaban sa pamamagitan ng pag-release ng cannon ball from the cannon. No? Talagang tinatry ko si 45 degrees, talagang ang layo ng abot niya. Then kapag ganun talaga. Ganun yung concept ng
yun ang relationship niya, Tutor Kevin, no? Kapag mataas talaga, okay, yung launch mo ng projectile, obviously, Tutor Kevin, ang range niya ay malapit.
Malapit.
Okay? Pero pag mababa, pag mababa, ayan, medyo mas malapad siya.
Parang sa pangarap pala, Tutor Bandong, kinakailangan mag-aim ka ng ng malawak.
Yun.
Di ba?
Targetin mo ng kung gusto mong malayo marating, dun tayo sa 45 degrees. Favorite ko na si 45 degrees.
Thank you, Tutor Bandong.
Nanonood daw sila ng naglalaro si Ma'am Renalyn ng Angry Birds. So palagay ko nagagamit talaga ni Ma'am Renalyn, no, yung kanyang galing si Projectile Motion dito sa Angry Bird. Ayan, sabi rin ni Ma'am Judy. Ayan, ang ating mga
application niya ng horizontal and vertical natin.
Tutor Kevin, talaga namang patuloy na sumusuporta sa atin. Hindi nila tayo iniiwan, Tutor Kevin. Fourth quarter na ng week 2 na at nandyan sila at dumadami pa. Maraming salamat sa inyo.
Totoo, maraming salamat po.
From different SDO yan, Tutor Keva.
Yan.
Ayan.
Alright, Tutor Bandong, thank you.
Alright. I'm so happy to see you again. Tutor Kevin, ayan, listeners din natin ay na-miss ka, Tutor Kevin. Now, let's proceed, Tutor Kevin, with this one. So, binigay ko na sa kanila yung kinematic equation because they will keep on using this one in solving problems. So, kanina, binalikan na natin yan. So, let's now proceed, Tutor Kevin, with an example. Okay? So, ito na nga yung ating sample problem, Tutor Kevin. Alright, so a world champion long jumper, okay, leaves the ground at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal at 12 meter per second. How far does he jump? Ayan, so ano kaya yung, gaano kaya kalayo yung kanyang natalon? Ayan, so tingnan natin, using the formula, Tutor Kevin, na meron tayo dito. Actually, we have two, no? Pwede natin gamitin yung dalawa, Tutor Kevin. Itong distance x, okay, which is equivalent to Vx times total time, Tutor Kevin. Okay, and then later yung range naman. Okay, so pwede rin natin yung gamitin. But this time, let's focus first, Tutor Kevin, with this formula. Yun nga lang, they notice, okay, na gagamit tayo ng time here. So walang given na time, so we need to solve first for time. Okay, so Tutor Kevin, ang given natin ay theta, which is equivalent to 30 degrees, okay, yung angle, and then the initial velocity, which is 12 meter per second, and we will be looking for distance x or range, right? So Tutor Kevin, here's the solution to that. Okay, so in order to find the value of total time, we will be using this formula, okay, 2vi, or 2 initial velocity, okay, sine theta. Okay, so multiply by sine theta, divide by 9.8 meter per second squared, Tutor Kev. Okay, and obviously they will arrive with this result. Okay, so i-substitute lang natin yung value, Tutor Kevin. Okay, so for total time, we have this formula. Okay, so yung 2 na yan, multiply natin sa 12 meter per second, which is the velocity, and the value for sine 30 degrees, Tutor Gavin, is 0.5. All right, so we will be multiplying 2 times 12, multiply by 0.5, divide by 9.8 meter per second squared, Tutor Gav. And so we need to cancel the unit. May isa pang matitirang s or seconds because we are looking for time. Right, so the final answer, Tutor Gavin, is 1.22 seconds. Right, so that's the final answer for total time. Nagagamitin natin, Tutor Kevin, in solving this one. Tutor Kev. So we have here, Tutor Kevin, the... Okay, Tutor Kev, so ayan na.
Okay, by substituting time, di ba, kinuha natin yung time natin kanina, di ba? So we have the horizontal displacement equals the initial velocity, horizontal pa rin, times the time. So since we already have time, we will just plug in the value of the time. So equals initial velocity times cosine theta times the time. Okay, so substitute natin. Let's just plug in the numbers. Anong value ng ating initial velocity? We have 12 meters per second. Anong value ng ating theta? We have 30 degrees. So, and what's the value of the time? Kanina nakuha natin, it's 1.22 seconds. So napansin nyo, inilagay lang natin yung mga numbers doon sa representations na representing variables nila. All we have to do is to multiply all of them using the equation given. Gagamitin na natin yung kaninang equation na d sub x equals v sub ix times time. So 12 meter per second times the value of 30 degree is 0.87 times 1.22 seconds. Let's just multiply all of them. Now the horizontal displacement is 12.74 meters. So mataas-taas din siya.
Ayan, Tutor Kev, no? Nga, baka kasi magtaka, Tutor Kevin, ng ating mga learners, no, the VIX kasi, Tutor Kev, no, kaya hindi lang yung 12 meter, kasi baka yung velocity lang ilagay nila, may value kasi, di ba, yung horizontal velocity, ang value niya ay initial velocity times cosine theta, Tutor Kev, so doon galing yung 12 meter per second times 0.87 yan. Okay? So, baka ilagay lang nila 12 meter, Tutor Kev.
Ayan, so horizontal displacement, Tutor Van Doon, 12.74. So imagine mo, malayo-layo din yung inilayo, no? Nung
Oo, Tutor Kevin.
check natin
At
dyan,
yung isang
12.74
range, Tutor
meters.
Kevin naman, if we will look for range, no? Okay, so ito naman yung gagamitin natin kasi nga dx or r eh. So ito yung gagamitin nating formula for that. So that is vi squared, naka-squared yon, sine 2 theta divide g or 9.8 meter per second squared, right? So substituting the value, Tutor Kevin, we will arrive with 12 meter per second squared. So 12 meters squared second squared yan in total, no? So that's why it's 144 meters squared second squared multiply by the value kasi naka times 2 eh. Tutor Kevin, yung theta natin. So yung 30 degrees natin ay i-multiply okay, sa 2. So that's why it becomes 60 degrees, all right? So 144 meters squared second squared multiplied by 0.866, that's the value of sine 60 degrees. Okay, divide 9.8 meter per second squared, Tutor Kevin. And so we will arrive with 124.71 meters squared seconds per second squared divide 9.8 meter per second squared. So pag kinansel natin yung unit, Tutor Kevin, ano, may matitirang isang m. Okay? So cancel s squared, tapos m na isa doon. At syempre may matitirang ang isang m because we are looking for a range. So the unit for that is meter. Okay, the final answer is 12.73. Meron lang 0.1 difference with the dx, no, Tutor Kevin. Okay, still, okay, so 0.1 difference for that. If we will try to use this formula without time, Tutor Kevin, kasi hindi given ang time. Okay, so we're in kanina kasi, pwede natin gamitin yung isa pa, wherein we will look first for time. Ayan, so two ways. Ayan. Ako, Tutor Kevin, ang ingay, no? May dumaang motor. Ayan. So, ayan yung isang paraan, Tutor Kevin, in solving. Okay? So, using the kinematic equations that we have. Alright. Okay, ang galing ng ating mga learners. Okay, so let's proceed now with, okay, eto na, Tutor Kevin. Dahil alam na nila, marunong na silang mag-solve, Tutor Kev. So, tingin ko, pwede na sila dito sa ating quiz, Tutor Kevin. Pero yung quiz natin talaga ng mga, ano na to, Tutor Kevin, parang kumbaga, sama rin na ito mula pa nung umpisa na diniscuss natin ng projectile motion. Alright, so let's proceed now, Tutor Kevin, with question. So, ito yung direction natin. Read each question carefully. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Use a separate sheet of paper for your answers. And this is question number 1. Alright, Tutor Kevin.
Okay, let's have question number 1. The curved path traveled by a projectile is known as, ulitin natin, the curved path traveled by a projectile is known as, is it A, projectile motion? Is it B, trajectory? Is it C, free fall? Or is it D, momentum? Answer mo, show mo!
Ayan, Tutor Kevin.
Ano kaya ang sagot ng ating mga learners?
Ayan,
Ayan.
ako, alam nila
Actually,
yan.
last
Dahil,
week pa, diniscuss ito ni Tutor Vandong at napakalinaw naman that the curved path, traveled by a projectile is known as...
ano po, talaga naman. Alam nila yan, Tutor Kevin, kaya nga nagsagot sila ng letter B.
that is the trajectory. Alright? Good job, learners. Now let's have question number 2 by Tutor Vandong.
Question number 2. Alright. Ay, ayan. Tutor Kevin, parang question number 1 pa. Alright, question number 2. It is a body traveling in projectile motion. A, height. B, acceleration. C, projectile. D, range. Ayan. So, alin kaya dyan? Ang tamang sagot, answer mo, show mo. Ayan. Tingnan natin. Ayan, Tutor Kevin, ang ating mga learners, no, binabati ko lang, no, nandiyan ang mga taga Santa Lucia National High School. Ay, hello sa inyo, taga Santa Lucia. Ayan. Okay. Ayan, nagsasagot sila. And Chelsea. Alright. Alright. So, the correct answer, Tutor Kevin, alam nila yan, is projectile. Right? Next one, Tutor Cal. This is question number 3. Tutor Kevin.
Ayan. Now, let's have question number 3 using the illustration on your screen. No? And I believe this was discussed a while ago. The question goes like this. Which angle results in a maximum height? Again, which angle results in a maximum height? Is it A, 30 degrees, B, 60 degrees, C, 45 degrees, or D, 75 degrees? Alin dyan ang nagre-resulta sa may maximum height? Answer mo, show mo!
Ayan.
Na-miss ko yung spill na yun, ha?
Oo nga, nako, ayun na. Sigurado alam ng ating mga learners yan dahil kanina nagsagot na sila, Tutor Kevin, at ang galing nila. Alam nilang sagot siya. And, syempre pa ang tamang sagot, Tutor Kevin, ay letter D.
Ayan, kita naman sa ating diagram, ano, that the maximum height ayan, is 75 degrees. At what angle is that? 75 degrees. Okay?
Ayan.
So, ayan.
Alright.
Kung gusto mong pataas, yan ang gamitin mo, 75 degrees. Gumamit ka ng protractor. Wala kang protractor. Sige, next question.
At which angle will a soccer ball be kicked to reach the farthest horizontal distance? A, 75 degrees. B, 60 degrees. C, 45 degrees. D, 30 degrees. Ayan, ano kaya? Para ma-achieve no, yung malayo. Okay, so pinag-usapan natin yung kanina, Tutor Kev, no? Alin kaya dyan pag gusto natin malayo? Okay, anong degrees ang launch natin? Alright, so A, 75 degrees, B, 60 degrees, C, 45 degrees, D, 30 degrees ba? Answer mo, show mo. Tingnan natin ang ating mga learners. Alam kong alam na alam nila ang answer dyan. Right? So, ayan si Aldrich, letter C. Si Leon, letter C. Si Aurelio, letter C. Si Graham Moore, ha? Graham Moore. active na naman si Graham Moore. Letter C. Raylin, letter C. Si Sak, letter C. And, obviously, Tutor Kevin, they are all correct because the answer here is letter C, 45 degrees. All right. Next, Tutor Kevin.
All right, let's have question number 5. Ito, no? A javelin athlete throws the javelin, yung bolang bakal, at the same speed at 4 different angles. 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, at 70 degrees. Ang tanong, which 2 throws will cause the javelin to land at the same distance? Ulitin natin ang tanong, alin sa mga dalawang pagbato, no, will cause the javelin to land at the same distance? Ano kaya dyan? So, anong mga angle dyan? Is it A, 30 and 45 degrees? B, 30 and 60 degrees? C, 45 and 60 degrees? And D, 30 and 70 degrees? Okay, analyze the question.
Alam nila yan, Tutor Kev.
Kung kaya, gawa ng illustration. Answer mo, show mo!
Ayan, tingnan natin ang ating mga learners. Alam kong alam na alam nila ang sagot yan. Okay, dahil binanggit natin yan kanina, Tutor Kevin eh. Okay, so kaya alam kong alam nila yan. Ayan, nasabi nila letter B daw, Tutor Kevin. Letter B, lahat sila nag-letter B, Tutor Kevin. And the correct answer to that is really letter B. Okay, so it's 30 and 60 degrees, Tutor Kevin. Alright, so kasi Tutor Kevin itong number 5, no, ulitin ko lang dahil isa ito sa mga key points, no, ng projectile motion, no, yung kaninang sinabi natin na they will land on the same range, Tutor Kevin. Ito ang complementary angle na sinasabi natin kanina, no, kapag ang combination ay 30 and 60 ay 90 degrees, Tutor Kevin, that's complementary angle. The sum of that is 90 degrees. They will land on the same range. The same thing with 75 degrees kanina na pinakita natin sa illustration, wherein 75 degrees and 15 degrees land on the same range Okay, it's because it's both complementary, so the sum of them is really is also 90 degrees, Tutor Kevin. So that's why same range ang kanilang nilandingan. Ayan. So alam na alam ng ating mga learners. Okay, 505, they are already giving their scores, Tutor Kevin, because nagbibigay ako sa kanila ng kaunting cash, Tutor Kevin. Ng kaunting Gcash load. Tinatawagan ko yung ating mga mapipiling mga learners. No? So ngayon, mamimili ulit ako at i-PM ko yan, Tutor Kevin. Okay? Para magbigay tayo ng kaunting pang-load. Kaunti lang.
Wow, sana all.
Alright. So, Tutor Kevin, bago lang tayo magpunta dun sa ating importanteng words to ponder, no? Hindi tayo nawawala ng words to ponder. Ang magbanggitin ko lang, Tutor Kevin, yung isa sa mga, yung mga things to remember, Tutor Kevin, yung mga dapat niyong tandaan about a project launch at an angle, right? So, here are some key points na diniscuss natin, no? So, an objective, okay, is if an object is projected, Tutor Kevin, from rest at an upward angle, ayan, no? So, pag nilaunch natin yung projectile, no? Its initial velocity can be resolved in two components. Remember, so we have the horizontal and vertical. Okay, so the horizontal velocity is constant due to gravity. Okay, and the amount of time, Tutor Kevin, the object takes to come to a stop, kanina pinakita natin yan, is the same amount of time it takes to return to where it was launched, Tutor Kevin. So, time up equals time down. So, nakita nila yan kanina yung dun sa illustration na binigay natin. At kung gusto nga nilang ma-achieve, Tutor Kevin, di ba, yung widest, yung longest range, i-aim lang nila, i-target lang nila at 45 degrees. Okay, so yun lang.
Yes.
Binanggit natin yung relationship, Tutor Kevin, kapag mataas, no, yung kanilang pag-launch, yung angle of launch nila ay medyo mataas, Tutor Kevin, medyo maiksi ang range. Okay, pagka greater than 45 degrees. Okay, pero kapag lower than 45 degrees, Tutor Kevin, okay, medyo humahaba naman yung range. Alright? So kapag yan. So yung relationship na binabanggit natin kanina is the relationship of angle, okay, of projection with height, okay, is directly proportional, Tutor Kevin. Okay? Pero inversely proportional naman ito sa range of projectile. Okay? So ayan, isa na namang punong-puno ng kaalaman, Tutor Kevin, ng ating naitawid, no? At naitulay sa ating mga learners. Pero syempre hindi mawawala ang ating words to ponder, Tutor Kevin. Pakibasa, Tutor Kev.
Ayan, ang words to ponder natin ay learn to look life from different angles. Huwag lang sa isa. No? Kinakailangan you have different perspective. Hindi lang laging isa lang yung thinking natin. We should look at the different angles. We should look at the different stories because a story doesn't have one setting, Parang coin yan, may iba-ibang mukha.
Ayan, Tutor Kevin, ay naririnig akong background dyan sa iyo, Ayan. So, ayun nga, learn to look life from different angles, Tutor Kevin. Talaga namang hindi dapat isa lang yung nakikita, yung perspective, di ba, Tutor Kevin? I-widen natin yan. Okay? I-widen natin. Tingnan natin ang bawat angulo niyan. Para maramdaman natin, Tutor Kevin, sabi nga nila, yung success kasi ay nagmumula kapag napagdaanan mo lahat. Tutor Kevin, nandun talaga yung tagumpay kapag lahat ng anggulo ng buhay ay narating mo or nakamtan mo or napuntahan mo. Ayan. Huwag lang tayong pumunta dito lang kung saan magandang anggulo. Hindi. Kailangan sa lahat ng anggulo makita natin yung buhay. Kung ba makita natin kung paano natin iaayos yung ating pamumuhay. Tutor Kevin, tingnan natin lahat ng angles. Yan ang mahalaga. Ayan.
Well,
thank you so much. Yung ating mga learners, Tutor Kevin, na nandyan pa rin nakatutok. Thank you so much, Ma'am Elena Francisco. Ayan, thank you, Ma'am Marcian. Okay, Ma'am Renaline, thank you so much. Ma'am Elena, ayan, nandyan silang lahat, Tutor Kevin. Siyempre, Tutor Kevin, dahil nga 2:59 na, at susunod na sa atin, alam mo naman kung sino ang susunod sa atin, Tutor Kevin. Siyempre pa, sa ngalan po ng aking partner, Tutor Kev. Susunod na, sila Tutor Rainer at si Tutor Ichad para naman po yan sa Grade 10 Science. At kung meron po kayong mga comments, suggestions, email us at edtech@deped.gov.ph. Ayan po, isa na naman pong hapon na puno ng kaalaman ng ating naitulay. No? Maraming salamat po hanggang sa muli. Sa susunod po, week 3 na tayo. Tutor Kevin, we are on week 3 next week. Alam pong hindi nyo kami iiwan hanggang tayo matapos nitong 4th quarter. No? Maraming salamat. Teachers, learners, and parents, maraming salamat po. Hanggang sa muli, Tutor Bandong from SDO Malabon City.
Ayan, at Tutor Kevin from SDO Calamba City saying, see you when I see you. God bless and bye-bye.
Thank you so much, learners, teachers, parents. Hanggang sa muli.
Ang husay naman! Natapos mo ang iyong tutorial session kasama ang iyong mahusay na ETUlay tutor. May bago ka bang natutuhan? I-share na yan gamit ang hashtag #ETUlayLevelUp. Huwag aalis ha dahil may susunod pang programa na pwede mo ring panoorin at salihan dahil naghihintay na ang iyong mga tutors. Happy learning dito sa ETUlay!
Tutor Kev! Tutor Kev,